everyone. So in this video, we'll be starting the next book in the series of the I Am Number 4 series, which is The Fate of 10 by Pittacus Lore. It's a pretty cover. So we'll go ahead and read the back. It says, "They are not hiding anymore. They have begun their invasion. They will take your planet by force. This is our home now. We can defeat them. We have unleashed an ancient power. We have turned the tide because we are no longer alone in this fight. This is the beginning of the end." Dum dum dum. Alrighty, so I know that we ended with Sam getting powers from Lorien, which is an entity of awesomeness. So anyway, let's go ahead and start reading. I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know in the comments. The front door starts shaking. It's always done that whenever the metal security gate 2 flights down bangs closed, ever since they moved into the Harlem apartment 3 years ago. Between the front entrance and the paper-thin walls, they are always aware of the comings and goings of the entire building. They mute the television to listen. A 15-year-old girl and a 57-year-old man, daughter and stepfather who rarely see eye to eye, but who have put their many differences aside to watch the aliens invade. The man has spent much of the afternoon muttering prayers in Spanish, while the girl has watched the news coverage in awed silence. It seems like a movie to her, so much so that the fear hasn't truly sunk in. The girl wonders if the handsome blonde-haired boy who tried to fight the monster is dead. The man wonders if the girl's mother, a waitress at a small restaurant downtown, survived the initial attack. The man mutes the TV so they can listen to what's happening outside. One of their neighbors sprints up the stairs past their floor, yelling the whole way, "They're on the block! They're on the block!" The man sucks his teeth in disbelief. "Dude's losing it. Those pale freaks ain't gonna bother with Harlem. We're safe here," he reassures the girl. He turns the volume back up. The girl isn't so sure he's right. She creeps toward the door and stares out the peephole. The hallway outside is dim and empty. Like the Midtown block behind her, the reporter on TV looks trashed. She's got dirt and ash smudged all over her face, streaks of it through her blonde hair. There's a spot of dried blood on her mouth where there should be lipstick. The reporter looks like she's barely keeping it together. "To reiterate, the initial bombing seems to have tapered off," the reporter says shakily, the man listening raptly. The Mogadorians, they have taken to the streets en masse, and appear to be, rounding up prisoners, although we have seen some further attacks of violence at the slightest provocation." The reporter chokes back a sob. Behind her, there are hundreds of pale aliens in dark uniforms marching through the streets. Some of them turn their heads and point their empty black eyes right at the camera. "Jesus Christ," says the man. "Again, to reiterate, we are being allowed to broadcast. The invaders, they seem to want us here." Downstairs, the gate rattles again. There's a screech of metal tearing it and a loud crash. Someone didn't have a key. Someone needed to knock the gate down entirely. "It's them," the girl says. "Shut up," the man replies. He turns down the TV again. "I mean, keep quiet, damn." They hear heavy footfalls coming up the stairs. The girl backs away from the peephole when she hears another door get kicked in. Their downstairs neighbors start to scream. "Go hide," the man says to the girl. "Go on." The man's grip tightens on the baseball bat that he retrieved from the hall closet when the alien mothership first appeared in the sky. He inches closer to the shaking door, positions himself to one side of it, his back to the wall. They can hear noise from the hallway. A loud crash, their neighbor's apartment door being knocked off its hinges, harsh words in guttural English, screaming, and finally a sound like compressed lightning being uncorked. They've seen the aliens' guns on television, stared in awe at the sizzling bolts of blue energy they fired. The footsteps resume, stopping outside their shaky door. The man's eyes are wide, his hands tight on the bat. He realizes that the girl hasn't moved. She's frozen. "Wake up, stupid!" he snaps. "Go!" He nods towards the living room window. It's open, the fire escape waiting outside. The girl hates when the man calls her stupid. Even so, for the first time she can remember, the girl does what her stepfather tells her. She climbs through the window the same way she snuck out of this apartment so many times before. The girl knows she shouldn't go alone. Her stepfather should flee too. She turns around on the fire escape to call to him, and so she's looking into the apartment when their front door is hammered down. The aliens are much uglier in person than on television. Their otherness freezes the girl in her tracks. She stares at the deathly pale skin of the first one through the door, at his unblinking black eyes and bizarre tattoos. There are 4 aliens altogether, each of them armed. It's the first one that spots the girl in the fire escape. He stops in the doorway, his strange gun leveled in her direction. "Surrender or die," the alien says. A second later, the girl's stepfather hits the alien in the face with his bat. It's a powerful swing. The old man made his living as a mechanic, his forearms thick from 12-hour days. It caves in the alien's head, the creature immediately disintegrating into ash. Before her stepfather can get his bat back over his shoulder, the nearest alien shoots him in the chest. The man is thrown backwards into the apartment, muscles seizing, his shirt burning. He crashes through the glass coffee table and rolls, ends up facing the window where his eyes lock with the girl. "Run!" Her stepfather somehow finds the strength to shout, "Run, damn it!" The girl bounds down the fire escape. When she gets to the ladder, she hears gunfire from her apartment. She tries not to think about what that means. A pale face pokes his head out of her window and takes aim at her with his weapon. She lets go of the ladder, dropping into the alley below, right as the air around her sizzles. The hair on her arm stands up, and the girl can tell there's electricity coursing through the metal of the fire escape, but she's unharmed. The alien missed her. The girl jumps over some trash bags and runs to the mouth of the alley, peeking around the corner to see the street she grew up on. There's a fire hydrant gushing water into the air. It reminds the girl of summer block parties. She sees an overturned mail truck, its undercarriage smoking like it could explode at any minute. Further down the block, parked in the middle of the street, the girl sees the alien's small spacecraft, one of many she and her stepfather saw unleashed from the hulking ship that still looms over Manhattan. They played that clip over and over on the news, almost as much as they played the video about the blonde-haired boy. John Smith, that's his name. The girl narrating on the video said so. Where is he now? The girl wonders. Probably not saving people in Harlem, that's for sure. The girl knows she has to save herself. She's about to run for it when she spots another group of aliens exiting an apartment building across the street. They have a dozen humans with them, some familiar faces from around the neighborhood, a couple of kids she recognizes from the grades below her, at gunpoint. They force the people onto their knees on the curb. A big alien freak walks down the line of people, clicking a small object in his hand, like a bouncer outside of a club. They're keeping a count. The girl isn't sure if she wants to see what happens next. Metal screeches behind her. The girl turns around to see one of the aliens from her apartment climbing down the fire escape. She runs. The girl's fast, and she knows these streets. The subway is only a few blocks from here. Once, on a dare, the girl climbed down from the platform and ventured into the tunnels. The darkness and rats didn't scare her nearly as much as these aliens. That's where she'll go. She can hide there, maybe even make it downtown. Try to find her mother. The girl doesn't know how she's going to break the news about her stepfather. She doesn't even believe it herself. She keeps expecting to wake up. The girl darts around a corner, and 3 aliens stand in her path. Her instinct makes her try to turn back, but her ankle twists and her legs come out from under her. She falls, hitting the sidewalk hard. One of the aliens makes a short, harsh noise. The girl realizes he's laughing at her. "Surrender or die," it says, and the girl knows this really isn't a choice. The aliens already have their guns raised and aimed, fingers nearly depressing the triggers. Surrender and die. They're going to kill her no matter what she does next. The girl's certain of this. The girl throws up her hands to defend herself. It's a reflex. She knows it won't do anything against their weapons, except it does. The aliens' guns jerk upwards, out of their hands. They fly 20 yards down the block. They look at the girl, stunned and uncertain. She doesn't understand what just happened either, but she can feel something different inside her, something new. It's as if she's a puppeteer with strings connecting to every object on the block. All she needs to do is push and pull. The girl isn't sure how she knows this. It feels natural. One of the aliens charges, and the girl swipes her hand from right to left. He flies across the street, limbs flailing, and slams through the windshield of a parked car. The other 2 exchange a look and start to back away. "Who's laughing now?" she asks them, standing up. "Guard," one of them hisses in reply. The girl doesn't know what this means. The way the alien says it makes the word sound like a curse. That makes the girl smile. She likes that these things ripping up her neighborhood are afraid of her now. She can fight them. She's going to kill them. The girl throws one of her hands into the air, and the result is one of the aliens lifting up from the ground. The girl brings her hand down just as quickly, smashing the airborne alien on top of his companion. She repeats this until they turn to dust. When it's done, the girl looks down at her hands. She doesn't know where this power came from. She doesn't know what it means. But she's going to use it. Chapter 1. We run past the broken wing of an exploded jet fighter, the jagged metal lodged in the middle of a city like a shark's fin. How long ago was it that we watched the jet scream by overhead, a course set for uptown from the Anubis? It feels like days, but it must only be hours. Some of the people were with the survivors. They whooped and cheered when they saw the jets, like the tide was going to turn. I knew better, kept quiet. Only a few minutes later we could hear the explosions as the Anubis blew those jets out of the sky, scattering pieces of Earth's most sophisticated military all over the island of Manhattan. They haven't sent any more jets in. How many deaths is that? Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe more? And it's all my fault, because I couldn't kill Setrekis Ra when I had the chance. On the left! A voice shouts from somewhere behind me. I whip my head around, charge up a fireball without thinking about it, and incinerate a Mog Scout as he comes around a corner. Me, Sam, the couple dozen survivors we picked up along the way, we barely break stride. We're in the lower Manhattan now. Ran here. Fought our way back, block by block, trying to put some distance between us and Midtown, where the Mogs are strongest, where we last saw the Anubis. I'm exhausted. I stumble. I can't even feel my feet anymore. They're so tired. I think I'm about to collapse. An arm goes around my shoulders and steadies me. John? Sam asks, concerned. He's holding me up. It sounds like his voice is coming through a tunnel. I try to reply to him, but the words don't come. Sam turns his head and speaks to one of the other survivors. We need to get off the streets for a while. He needs to rest. Next thing I know, I slump back against the wall of an apartment building lobby. I must have gone out for a minute. I try to brace myself, try to pull myself together. I have to keep fighting, but I can't do it. My body refuses to take any more punishment. I let myself slide down the wall so that I'm sitting on the floor. The carpet is covered in dust and broken glass that must have blown in from outside. There are about 25 of us huddled together here. These are all we could manage to save. Blood-stained and dirty, a few of them wounded, all of us tired. How many injuries did I heal today? It was easy at first. After so many, though, I could feel my healing legacy draining my own energy. I must have hit my limit. I remember the people not by name, but by how I found them or what I healed. Broken arm and pinned under car, looked concerned, scared. A woman jumped from window, puts her hand on my shoulder, checking on me. I nod to tell her I'm all right, and she looks relieved. Right in front of me, Sam talks with a uniformed cop in his 50s. The cop has dry blood all over one side of his face from a cut on top of his head that I healed. I forget his name or where we found him. Their voices sound far away, like they're echoing down a mile-long tunnel. I have to focus my hearing to understand the words, and even that takes a colossal effort. My head feels warped, wrapped in cotton. Word came in over the radio that we've got a foothold on the Brooklyn Bridge, the cop says. NYPD, National Guard, Army, hell, everyone. They're holding the bridge, evacuating survivors from there. It's only a few blocks away, and they say the Mogs are concentrated uptown. We can make it. Then you should go, Sam answers. Go now, while the coast is clear, before another of their patrols comes through. You should come with us, kid. We can't, Sam replies. One of our friends is still out there. We have to find him. 9. That's who we have to find. The last we saw him, he was battling 5 in front of the United Nations. Through the United Nations. We have to find him before we can leave New York. We have to find him and save as many people as we can. I'm starting to come to my senses, but I'm still too exhausted to move. I open my mouth to speak, but all I manage to do is groan. He's had it, says the cop, and I know he's talking about me. You two have done enough. Get out with us now, while you can. He'll be fine, Sam says. The doubt in his voice makes me grit my teeth and focus. I need to press on, to dig down deep and keep fighting. He passed out. He just needs to rest for a minute. I'm fine, I mumble, but I don't think they hear me. You're going to get killed if you stay, kid, the cop tells Sam, sternly shaking his head. You can't keep this up. There's too many for just you two to fight. Leave it to the army, or he trails off. We all know the army already made their attempt. Manhattan is lost. We'll get out as soon as we can, Sam replies. You hear me down there? The cop is talking to me now, lecturing me in the same way Henry used to. I wonder if he's got kids somewhere. There's nothing left for you to do here. You got us this far, let us do the rest. We'll carry you to the bridge if we have to. The survivors assembled around the cop nod, murmuring in agreement. Sam looks at me, his eyebrows raised in question. His face is smeared with dirt and ash. He looks hollowed out and weak, like he's barely standing himself. A Mog blaster hangs from his hip, hooked there by a chopped piece of electric cord. And it's like Sam's entire body slumps in that direction, the extra weight threatening to pull him over. I force myself to stand up. My muscles are limp and almost useless, though. I'm trying to show the police officer and the others that I've got some fight left in me, but I can tell by the pitying way they're staring at me that I don't look very inspiring. I can barely keep my knees from shaking. For a moment, it feels like I'm going to crash down to the floor, but then something happens. I feel like a force is lifting and pulling me, supporting some of my weight, straightening my back and squaring my shoulders. I don't know how I'm doing this, where I'm finding the strength. It's almost supernatural. No, actually, it's not supernatural at all. It's Sam. Telekinetic Sam concentrating on me, making it look like I've still got some gas left in the tank. We're staying, I say firmly, my voice scratchy. There are more people to save. The cop shakes his head in wonder. Behind him, a girl that I vaguely remember rescuing from a collapsing fire escape bursts into tears. I'm not sure if she's inspired or if I just look terrible. Sam remains completely focused on me, stone-faced, a fresh bead of sweat forming on his temple. Get to safety, I tell the others. Then, help however you can. This is your planet. We're all going to save it together. The cop strides forward to shake my hand. His grip is like a vice. We won't forget you, John Smith, he says. All of us. We owe you our lives. Give them hell, someone else says. And then all at once the rest of the group of survivors are blurting out their goodbyes and their gratitude. I grit my teeth in what I hope is a smile. The truth is, I'm too tired for this. The cop, he's their leader now. He'll keep them safe. He makes sure everyone keeps it quiet and quick, eventually hustling them out of the apartment building's lobby and onto the Brooklyn Bridge. As soon as we're alone, Sam releases me from the telekinetic grip he was using to hold me upright, and I slump backwards against the wall, struggling to keep my feet under me. He's out of breath and sweating from the exertion of keeping me standing. He's not Lorik, and he's had no proper training, yet somehow Sam has developed a legacy and begun using it the best he can. Considering our situation, he's had no choice but to learn on the fly. Sam with a legacy. If things weren't so chaotic and desperate, I'd be more excited. I'm not sure how or why this happened to him, but Sam's newfound powers are pretty much the only win we've had since coming to New York. Thanks, I say, the words coming easier now. No problem, Sam replies, panting. You're the symbol of Earth's resistance. We can't have you laying around. I try to push off from the wall, but my legs aren't ready yet to support my full weight. It's easier if I just lean against it and drag myself towards the nearest apartment door. Look at me. I'm not the symbol of anything, I grumble. Come on, he says. You're exhausted. Sam puts his arm around me, helping me along. He's dragging too, though, so I try not to put much weight on him. We've been through hell in the last few hours. The skin on my hand still tingles from how much I've used my lumen, tossing fireballs at squad after squad of Mog attackers. I hope the nerve endings aren't permanently singed or something. The thought of igniting my lumen right now makes my knees nearly buckle. Resistance, I say bitterly. Resistance is what happens after you lose a war, Sam. You know what I mean, he replies. I can tell by the way his voice shakes that it's a strain for Sam to stay optimistic after everything we've seen today. He's trying, though. A lot of those people knew who you were. They said there was some video of you on the news and everything that happened at the UN. You basically unmasked a Trekkus Ra in front of an international audience. Everyone knows you've been fighting against the Mogadorians, that you tried to stop this. Then they know that I failed. The door to the first floor apartment is ajar. I shove it the rest of the way open, and Sam closes and locks it behind us. I try the nearest light switch, surprised to find that the electricity is still on here. Power seems to be spotty throughout the city. I guess this neighborhood hasn't been badly hit yet. I turn the lights off just as quickly. In our current condition, we don't want to attract the attention of any Mogadorian patrols that might be in the area. As I stumble towards a nearby futon, Sam moves around the room, closing curtains. The apartment is a small one-room studio. There's a cramped kitchen cordoned off from the main living space by a granite counter, a single closet, and a tiny bathroom. Whoever lives here definitely left in a hurry. There are clothes spilled across the floor from a hasty packing job, an overturned bowl of cereal on the counter, and a cracked picture frame near the door that looks like it was crushed underfoot. In the picture, a couple in their 20s pose in front of a tropical beach, a small monkey perched on the guy's shoulder. These people had a normal life. Even if they made it out of Manhattan into safety, that's over now. Earth will never be the same. I used to imagine peaceful life like this for Sarah and me once the Mogs were defeated. Not a tiny apartment in New York City, but something simple and calm. There's an explosion in the distance, the Mogs destroying something uptown. I realize now how naive those life-after-war dreams were. Nothing will ever be normal after this. Sarah. I hope she's okay. It was her face that I called to mind during the roughest parts of our block-by-block battle through Manhattan. Keep fighting and you'll get to see her again. That's what I kept telling myself. I wish I could talk to her. I need to talk to her. Not just Sarah, but Six too. I need to get in touch with the others to find out what Sarah learned from Mark James and his mysterious contact, and to see what Six, Marina, and Adam did in Mexico. That has to have something to do with why Sam suddenly developed a legacy. What if he's not the only one? I need to know what's happening outside of New York City, but my satellite phone was destroyed when I fell into the East River. And the regular cell phone networks are down. For now, it's just me and Sam, surviving. In the kitchen, Sam opens the fridge. He pauses and glances over to me. Is it wrong if we take some of this person's food? He asks me. I'm sure they won't care, I reply. I close my eyes for what feels like a second, but must be longer, opening them only when a piece of bread bumps against my nose. With one hand extended Theatrically, like a comic book character, Sam telekinetically floats a peanut butter sandwich, a plastic container of applesauce, and a spoon in front of my face. Even feeling down and out as I am, I can't help but smile at the effort. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you with the sandwich, Sam says as I pluck the food out of the air. I'm still getting used to this, obviously. No worries. It's easy to shove and pull with telekinesis. Precision's the hardest part to learn. No kidding, he says. You're doing amazing for someone that's had telekinesis for all of 4 hours, man. Sam sits down on the futon next to me with his own sandwich. It helps if I imagine that I have, ghost hands. Does that make sense? I think back to how I trained with my own telekinesis with Henry. It seems like so long ago. I used to visualize whatever I focused on moving and then will it to happen. I tell Sam. We started small. Henry used to toss me baseballs in the backyard and I'd practice catching them with my mind. Yeah, well, I don't think playing catch is really an option for me right now, Sam says. I'm finding other ways to practice. Sam floats his sandwich up from his lap. He initially brings it too high for him to bite, but gets it at mouth level after a second more of concentration. Not bad, I say. It's easier when I'm not thinking about it. Like when we're fighting for our lives, for instance? Yeah, Sam says, shaking his head in wonder. Are we going to talk about how this happened to me, John? Or why it happened? Or, I don't know, what it means? Guard develop legacies in their teens, I say, shrugging. Maybe you're just a late bloomer. Dude, have you forgotten that I'm not Lorik? Neither is Adam, but he's got legacies, I reply. Yeah, his gross dad hooked him up to a dead guard and... I hold up a hand to stop Sam. All I'm saying is that it's not so cut and dry. I don't think legacies work the way my people always assumed. I pause for a moment to think. What's happened to you has to have something to do with what Six and the others did at the sanctuary. Six did this? Sam says. They went down there to find Lorien on Earth. I think they did it, and then maybe Lorien chose you. Without even realizing it, I've already devoured the sandwich and applesauce. My stomach growls. I feel a little better, my strength starting to come back to me. Well, that's an honor, Sam says, looking down at his hands and thinking it over. Or more likely, thinking about Six. A terrifying honor. You did good out there. I couldn't have saved all those people without you, I reply, patting Sam on the back. The truth is, I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know how or why you suddenly developed a legacy. I'm just glad you have it. I'm glad there's a little hope mixed into the death and destruction. Sam stands up, pointlessly brushing some crumbs off his dirt-caked jeans. Yeah, that's me. The great hope for humanity, currently dying for another sandwich. You want one? I can get it, I tell Sam, but when I lean forward to get off the futon, I am immediately woozy and have to sink back down. Take it easy, Sam says, playing it off like he didn't notice what a mess I am. I got the sandwich covered. We'll just hang here for a few more minutes. Then we'll go track down 9. I close my eyes, listening to Sam clatter around in the kitchen, trying to spread peanut butter with a telekinetically held knife. In the background, always in the background now, I can hear the steady thunder of fighting somewhere else in Manhattan. Sam's right, we're the resistance. We should be out there resisting. If I can just rest for a few more minutes. I don't open my eyes until Sam shakes me by the shoulder. Immediately I can tell that I've dozed off. The light in the room has changed, the street lights coming on outside, a warm yellow glow under the curtains. A plate stacked with sandwiches waits on the couch next to me. I'm tempted to dive right in and chow down. It's like all my urges are animal now. Sleep, eat, fight. How long was I out for? I ask Sam, sitting up, feeling a little better physically, but also feeling guilty for sleeping when there are people dying all over New York. About an hour, Sam replies. I was going to let you rest, but... In explanation, Sam gestures behind him towards the small flat-screen television attached to the room's far wall. The local news is actually broadcasting. Sam's got the volume muted and the picture occasionally gives way to bursts of static. But there it is. New York City, burning. Grainy footage shows the looming hulk of the Anubis crawling across the skyline, its side-mounted cannons bombarding the uppermost floors of a skyscraper until there's nothing left but dust. I didn't even think to check if it was working until a few minutes ago, Sam says. I figured the Mogs would have knocked out the TV stations for, war reasons. I haven't forgotten what Setrekus Ross said to me as I dangled from his ship over the East River. He wants me to watch Earth fall. Thinking even further back to that vision of Washington, D.C., which I shared with Ella, I remember that city looking pretty busted up. But it wasn't completely razed, and there were survivors left over to serve Setrekus Ross. I think I'm beginning to understand. I've got a call coming in. Oh. Sorry for that quick delay. It's not an accident, I say to Sam, thinking out loud. He must want the humans to be able to see the destruction he's bringing down. It's not like on Lorien where his fleet just wiped everyone out. That's why he tried putting on that big show at the UN. It's why he tried all that shadowy Mog Pro shit to bring Earth under his control peacefully. He's planning to live here afterwards, and if they're not going to worship him like the Mogs do, he at least wants his human subjects to fear him. Well, the fear thing is definitely working, Sam replies. On screen, the news has switched to a live shot of an anchor at her desk. The building that houses this channel has probably taken some damage from the fighting because it looks like they're barely keeping themselves on the air. Only half the lights are on in the studio and the camera's cockeyed. The picture not as sharp as it should be. The anchor is trying to keep up a professional face, but her hair is caked with dust and her eyes are red from crying. She speaks directly into the camera for a few seconds, introducing the next piece of footage. The anchor disappears, replaced by a shaky video shot with a cellular phone. In the middle of the major intersection, a blurry figure spins round and round like an Olympic discus tower warming up. Except this guy's not holding a discus. With inhuman strength, he's whipping around another person by the ankle. Around a dozen spins, the guy lets go of the curled-up body, flinging it through the front window of a nearby movie theater. The video stays centered on the thrower as, shoulders heaving, he yells out what's probably a curse. It's 9. Sam, turn it up! As Sam gropes for the remote, whoever's filmed 9 dives behind a car for cover. It's disorienting as hell, but the cameraman manages to keep recording by sticking one hand above the car's trunk. A group of Mogadorian warriors have appeared in the intersection, blasting away at 9. I watch as he dances nimbly aside, then uses his telekinesis to fling a car in their direction. Again, this is footage taken in Union Square just moments ago, the shaky-voiced anchor is saying as Sam turns up the volume. We know this apparently superpowered, possibly alien teenager was at the UN scene with the other young man identified as John Smith. We see him here engaged in combat with the Mogadorians, doing things not humanly possible. They know my name, I say, quietly. Look, Sam says, hitting my arm. The camera has panned back to the movie theater, where a blurry form slowly rises from the shattered window. I don't get a good look at him, but I immediately know exactly who 9 was throwing around. He flies up from the movie theater window, slashes through a few Mogs still in the intersection, and then careens violently into 9. 5, Sam says. The camera loses track of 5 and 9 as they plow through the grass of a small nearby park, churning up huge chunks of dirt as they go. They're killing each other, I say. We have to get over there. A second extraterrestrial teenager is fighting the first, at least when they're not fighting off the invaders, the anchor says, sounding baffled. We don't know why. We don't have many answers at all at this point. I'm afraid. Just stay safe, New York. Evacuation efforts are ongoing if you have a safe route to the Brooklyn Bridge. If you're near the fighting, keep inside and... I take the remote from Sam and turn off the TV. He watches me as I stand up, checking to make sure I'm all right. My muscles howl in protest, and I'm dizzy for a second, but I can push through. I have to push through. Never has the expression, fight like there's no tomorrow, had more meaning. If I'm going to make this right, if we're going to save Earth from Satrekis Ra and the Mogadorians, then the first steps are finding 9 and they're surviving New York. She said Union Square, I say. That's where we go. Chapter 2. The world hasn't changed, at least not that I can tell. The jungle air is humid and sticky, a welcome change from the cold dampness of the sanctuary's subterranean depths. I have to shield my eyes as we emerge into the late afternoon sun, ducking one by one through a narrow stone archway that's appeared in the Mayan temple's base. They couldn't have let us come in that way. Oh, they couldn't have let us come in that way? I grumble, cracking my back and glancing over to the hundreds of fractured limestone steps we climbed earlier. Once we were at the top of Calic Mule, our pendants activated some kind of loric doorway that teleported us to the hidden sanctuary beneath the centuries-old human-built structure. We found ourselves in an otherworldly room, obviously created by the elders on one of their visits to Earth. I guess secrecy was a higher priority than ease of access. Anyway, the way out wasn't such a hike and didn't involve any disorienting teleportation, just a dizzying 100 yards of dusty spiral staircase and a simple door that, of course, wasn't there when we first entered. Adam exits the sanctuary behind me, his eyes narrowed to slits. What now? He asks. I don't know, I tell him, looking up at the darkening sky. I was sort of counting on the sanctuary to answer that. I'm still not sure what we saw in there, or what we accomplished, Adam says hastily. He pushes some loose strands of black hair out of his face and watches me. Me neither, I tell him. Truth be told, I'm not even sure how long we were beneath the earth. You lose track of time when you're deep in conversation with an otherworldly being made of pure Loric energy. We had scraped together as many pieces of our inheritances as the guard could spare, basically anything that wasn't a weapon. Once inside the sanctuary, we dumped all those unexplained stones and trinkets into a hidden well connected to a dormant Lorelite energy source. I guess that was enough to wake up the entity, the living embodiment of Lorien itself. We chatted. Yeah, that happened. But the entity basically spoke in riddles, and at the end of our talk, the thing went supernova, its energy flooding out of the sanctuary and into the world. Like Adam. I'm not sure what it all meant. I'd expected to emerge from the sanctuary and find something. Maybe jagged bolts of Loric energy streaking through the skies on their way to incinerate the nearest Mogadorian not named Adam. Maybe some more juice to my legacies, putting me on a level where I'd be able to whip up a storm big enough to wipe out all our enemies. No such luck. As far as I know, the Mogadorian fleet is still closing in on Earth. John, Sam, Nine, and the others could be rushing towards the front lines right now, and I'm not sure we've done anything to help them. Marina is last through the temple door. She hugs herself, her eyes wide and watery, blinking in the sunlight. I know she's thinking about 8. Before the energy source went rocketing into the earth, it somehow managed to resurrect him, if only for a few fleeting minutes, long enough for Marina to say goodbye. Even now, already starting to sweat in the oppressive jungle heat, I get chills thinking about 8 returned to us, awash in the Lorelite glow, smiling again. It was the kind of intensely beautiful moment I've hardened myself to over the years. This is war. And people are going to die. Friends are going to die. I've come to accept the pain, to take the ugliness for granted, so it can be a little stunning when something good actually happens. Comforting as it was to see 8 again, it was still saying goodbye. I can't imagine what Marina is going through. She loved him, and now he's gone. Again. Marina stops and glances back at the temple, almost like she might go back inside. Next to me, Adam clears his throat. Is she going to be okay? He asks me, his voice low. Marina shut down on me once before back in Florida after 5 betrayed us, after he killed 8. This isn't the same. She isn't radiating a constant field of cold, and she doesn't look like she's on the verge of strangling whoever comes close. When she turns back to us, her expression is almost serene. She's remembering, storing that moment with 8 away and steeling herself for what's to come. I'm not worried about her. I smile as Marina blinks her eyes and wipes a hand across her face. I can hear you, she replies to Adam. I'm fine. Good. Adam says, awkwardly looking away. I just wanted to say about what happened in there, Adam trails off, both Marina and I looking at him expectantly. Being a Mog, I think he still finds it a little uncomfortable to get too personal with us. I know he was amazed by the Loric light show inside the sanctuary, but I could also tell he felt like he didn't belong, like he wasn't worthy enough to be in the presence of the entity. When Adam's pause stretches on, I pat him on the back. Let's save the heart-to-heart for the ride, okay? Adam seems relieved as we walk back towards our skimmer. The ship parked alongside a dozen other Mog crafts on the nearby landing strip. The Mog encampment in front of the temple is exactly the way we left it, trashed. The Mogs that were trying to break into the sanctuary had cleared jungle in a precise ring around the temple, getting as close to the temple as the sanctuary's powerful force field would allow. It isn't until we cross from the vine-strewn overgrowth of the land directly in front of the temple to the scorched brown soil of the Mog camp that I realize the force field is gone. The deadly barrier that protected the sanctuary for years is no more. The force field must have shut down while we were inside, I say. Maybe it doesn't need protection anymore, Adam suggests. Or maybe the entity diverted its power elsewhere, Marina replies. She pauses for a moment, thinking. When I kissed 8, I felt it. For a split second, I was part of the entity's energy flow. It was spreading out everywhere, all through the earth. Wherever the Loric energy went, now it spread thin. Maybe it can't power its defenses here. Adam gives me a look, like I should be able to explain what Marina just said. What do you mean it spread through the earth? I ask. I don't know how to explain it better than that, Marina says, gazing back at the temple, now cast half in shadow by the setting sun. It was a feeling like I was one with Lorien, and we were everywhere. Interesting, Adam says, eyeing the temple and then the ground beneath his feet with a mixture of caution and awe. Where do you think it went? Are your legacies... I don't feel any different, I tell him. Me neither, Marina says. But something has changed. Lorien is out there now, on Earth. It's definitely not the tangible result I was hoping for, but Marina seems so upbeat about it, I don't want to rain on her parade. I guess we'll see if anything's changed back in civilization. Maybe the entity's out there kicking ass. Marina glances back at the temple. Should we leave it this way, without protection? What's left to protect? Adam asks. There's still at least some of the entity left in there, Marina replies. Even now, I think the sanctuary is still a way to, I don't know exactly, get in touch with Lorien. We don't have a choice, I reply. The others will need us. Wait a second, Adam says, looking around. Where's Dust? With everything that happened inside the sanctuary, I completely forgot about the chimera we left outside the temple to stand guard. There's no sign of the wolf anywhere. Could he have gone into the jungle looking for that Mog woman? Marina asks. Vira Dunra, Adam replies, naming the trueborn that survived our initial assault. He wouldn't just go off on his own like that. Maybe the sanctuary's light show scared him off? I suggest. Adam frowns, then cups both his hands around his mouth. Dust! Come on! Dust! He and Marina fan out, searching for any sign of the chimera. I climb onto our skimmer to get a better look at the surrounding area. From up here, something catches my eye. A gray shape squirming out from beneath a rotten log at the edge of the jungle. What's that? I yell, pointing the writhing form out to Adam. He races over, Marina right behind him. A moment later, Adam carries the small shape over to me, his face twisted with concern. It's Dust, Adam says. I think it is. Adam holds a gray bird in his hands. It's alive, but its body is stiff and twisted, like it suffered from an electric shock and never recovered from the spasms. His wings jut out at odd angles, and his beak is frozen half open. Even though this is nothing like the powerful wolf we left behind just a short time ago, there's a quality that I immediately recognize. It's Dust, for sure. Bad as he looks, his black bird eyes dart around frantically. He's alive and his mind is working, but his body isn't responding. What the hell happened to him? I ask. I don't know, Adam says, and for a moment I think I see tears in his eyes. He steadies himself. He looks like the other chimera did right after I rescued them from Plum Island. They were experimented on. It's okay, Dust. You're okay, Marina whispers. She gently smooths down the feathers on his head, trying to calm him. She uses her legacy to heal most of the scratches that cover him, but it doesn't release Dust from the paralysis. We can't do anything more for him here, I say. I feel bad, but we need to keep moving. If that Mog did this to him, she's long gone. Let's just get back to the others. Maybe they'll have ideas about what to do. Adam brings Dust on board the skimmer and wraps him in a blanket. He tries to make the paralyzed chimera as comfortable as possible before he sits down behind the ship's controls. I want to get in touch with John, find out how things are going outside the Mexican jungle. I retrieve the satellite phone from my pack and settle into the seat next to Adam. While he begins powering up the ship, I call John. The phone rings endlessly. After about a minute, Marina leans forward to look at me. How worried should we be that he's not answering? She asks. The normal amount of worried, I reply. I can't help but glance down at my ankle. No new scars, as if I wouldn't have felt the searing pain. At least we know they're still alive. Something's not right, Adam says. We don't know that, I reply quickly. Just because they can't answer right this second doesn't mean no. I mean with the ship. When I take the phone away from my ear, I can hear the strange stuttering noise the skimmer's engine is making. The lights on the console in front of me flicker erratically. I thought you knew how to work this thing, I say. Adam scowls, then angrily flips down switches on the dashboard, powering the ship off. Beneath us, the engine rattles and clangs like something's not catching. I do know how to work this thing, Six, he says. It's not me. Sorry, I reply, watching as he waits for the engine to settle before powering the ship up again. The engine, Mogadorian technology that should be deathly silent, once again burps and spasms. Maybe we should try something besides turning it off and on again. First Dust, and now this. It doesn't make sense, Adam grumbles. The electronics are still working. Well, everything except for the automated diagnostic, which is exactly what would tell us what's wrong with the engine. I reach over and hit the button that opens up the cockpit. The glass dome parts above our heads. Let's go have a look, I say, standing up from my seat. We all climb back out of the skimmer. Adam jumps down to inspect the ship's underside, but I remain atop the hood, next to the cockpit. I find myself gazing at the sanctuary, the ancient limestone structure casting a long shadow thanks to the setting sun. Marina stands next to me, silently taking in the view. Do you think we're going to win? I ask her, the question just popping out. I'm not even sure I want an answer. Marina doesn't say anything at first. After a moment, she rests her head on my shoulder. I think we're closer today than we were yesterday, she says. I wish I knew for sure that coming down here was worth it, I say, clutching the satellite phone, willing it to ring. You need to have faith, Marina replies. I'm telling you, Six, the entity did something. I try to trust in Marina's words, but all I can think about are the practicalities. I wonder if the flood of Loric energy from the sanctuary was what screwed up our ride in the first place. Or maybe there's a simpler explanation. Hey guys, Adam calls from beneath the ship. You better come take a look at this. I hop down from the skimmer, Marina right behind me. We find Adam wedged between the metal struts of the landing gear, a bent panel of the ship's armored underbelly, and the dirt at his feet. Is that our problem? I ask. That was already loose, Adam explains, kicking the dislodged piece. And look at this. Adam motions me closer, so I slide in next to him, getting an intimate look at the inner workings of our ship. The skimmer's engine could probably fit under the hood of a pickup truck, but it's a lot more complicated than anything built here on Earth. Instead of pistons or gears, the engine comprises a series of overlapping spheres. They spin fitfully when Adam pushes against them, ticking uselessly against the exposed ends of some thick cables that run deeper into the ship. See, the electrical systems are still intact, Adam says, flicking the cables. That's why we still have some power. But that's not enough alone to get the anti-gravity propulsion going. These centrifugal rotors here. He runs his hand over the overlapping spheres. They're what gets us off the ground. Thing is, they aren't broken either. So you're telling me the skimmer should work? I ask, my eyes glazing over as I stare at the engine. It should, Adam says, but then he waves his hand in some empty space between the rotors and the wires. Except you see that? I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at, dude, I tell him. Is it broken? There's a conduit missing, he explains. It's what transfers the energy generated by the engines to the rest of the ship. And you're telling me it didn't just fall out? Obviously not. I take a few steps out from underneath the skimmer and scan the nearby tree line for any movement. We already killed every Mog that was trying to break into the sanctuary, all except for one. Fira Dunra, I say, knowing that the Mog is still out there. We were too focused on getting into the sanctuary to bother going after her earlier, and now she sabotaged us, Adam says, reaching the same conclusion I have. Pira Dunra did a number on Adam when we arrived, beat him up pretty good, and was about to try roasting his face on the sanctuary's force field before we got the drop on her. He still sounds pretty bitter about it. She took out dust, and then she stranded us here. We should have killed her. It's not too late, I reply, frowning. I don't see anything in the trees, but that doesn't mean Pira Dunra isn't out there watching us. Couldn't we replace the part with one from another ship? Marina asks, motioning to the dozen or so other Mog ships spaced out along the landing zone. Adam grunts and shoves out from underneath our skimmer. He strides towards the nearest ship, his left hand on the handle of a Mog blaster he took off one of the warriors we killed. I bet all these ships have engine panels that look just like ours, Adam grumbles. I hope it at least hurt her messed up hands. I remember Pira Dunra's bandaged hands, scarred from coming into contact with the sanctuary's force field. We should have known better than to leave one of them alive. Even before Adam reaches the nearest ship, I've got a sinking feeling. Adam ducks underneath the other ship, examining it. He sighs and makes eye contact with me before gently elbowing the armored hull above his head. The engine panel falls away like there was nothing holding it in place. She's toying with us, he says, his voice low and gravelly. She could have taken a shot at us when we left the sanctuary. Instead, she wants to keep us here. She knows she can't take us by herself, I say, raising my voice a little, thinking maybe I can bait Pira Dunra out of hiding. She removed these parts, right? Marina asks. She didn't just destroy them. No, it looks like she took them, Adam replies. Probably doesn't want to be responsible for destroying a bunch of ships in addition to getting her squadron killed. Although, keeping us here long enough for reinforcements to capture and to kill us would probably get her a pass from her beloved leader. No one's getting captured or killed, I say, except Pira Dunra. Is there any other way to get our ship moving? Marina asks Adam. Could you, rig something up? Adam scratches the back of his neck, looking around at the other ships. I suppose it's possible, he says. Depends what we can scrounge together. I could try, but I'm not a mechanic. That's one idea, I say, looking up at the sky to see how much daylight we have left. Not much. Or we could go out into that jungle, track down Pira Dunra, and get our part back. Adam nods. I prefer that plan. I look at Marina. What about you? I don't even have to ask. The sweat on my arms tingles. She's radiating an aura of cold. Let's go hunting, Marina says. Okay, let me see how long chapter 3 is. We're almost at an hour. Well, we're at, like almost at 50 minutes. I think we're going to call it. We're going to stop there. And that'll be this video. We'll pick back up on chapter 3 in the next one. I hope you guys are enjoying it. It's getting started and we're pretty much in war. So, and we got to hopefully get everybody back together so we can make a massive stand and hopefully see where that goes. Alright, that's it for now. Until next time, reading my read, guys. Bye.